Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. Just going to do your handover video on your Adria Coral. So actually, if we start with the bonnet, on the left hand side here we've got your engine battery. So if you want to jump start the van, negative at the front, positive at the back. You do kind of need to use these two prongs here to grip on with if you ever needed to jump start the van, because it is a little bit awkward to get over to the actual positive terminal, which is just down here at the back. So just bear that in mind. You can do it, just use those two side ones to sort of grip onto. You find that much easier. Brake fluid attaches to the servo just down the back there at the top of the engine. Your power steering or oil for power steering fluid is this one just here at the very front. Engine oil goes in through this top yellow cap just there on the top of the engine, and you've got this yellow top dipstick just here at the front to check that. You've got a couple of fuses and relays behind here and also under this cap down here. This is all Fiat engine related stuff, so you don't need to have a look at any of that, but that is where it is. Engine coolant, you can see there, it's cold at the moment, and so the level is exactly where it needs to be. So that gives it a little bit of space just in case it sort of goes down a little bit over a little while. So yeah, you're all good on that. Obviously all the service has been done already. Washer fluid goes in through this cap just here, and your air filter actually sits underneath this in this little box just here on the right hand side. Bonnet release is just pulling up on this left hand side here, and to actually release the bonnet you've got this cap just down here. You have also got this one just to the right, which is your steering column adjustment, so don't get those two confused. And whilst we're here as well, I'll just say when you jump out of the van, just remember that the handbrake's on this right hand side, so try not to catch yourself when you do jump out, because it does hurt. Your wing mirror adjustments are these ones just here, so you basically just choose which mirror you want to move and then use this like a little joystick to actually move the mirror around to where you want it to be. Electric windows, I will just point out a few bits to you in the cab. 5-speed manual gearbox where reverse is lift up and over to the top left. You've also got hazard lights in the middle, fog light just here to the right of that. The heated rear window obviously won't work because the original window isn't there anymore. Fan speed setting, temperature, and the actual fan setting itself, where you want the air to be pumped to. Recirculate on the left and draw air in from outside on the right. Lights and indicators are on this left hand stalk just here, and your washers and wipers are on the right. Okay, so we carry on to the offside now. So just here behind the door we've got a couple of bits to show you. This van's really nice because everything's, well, not everything, but nearly everything is on this offside. So if you needed to get to anything like your hookup, your gas, your toilet, all of that, even the water as well, it's all here on this offside. So all nice and easy to get to. Hookup point, you see there I've got a hookup cable plugged in at the moment just so I can show you that everything's working on the inside. But that's where you actually plug your hookup cable in, whether you're at home or at your campsite. That's where that goes. Your heating and hot water, you've got a Truma combi boiler in this van. So your actual vent for that is this one just here. So if you wanted to make sure that the heating was definitely working, or even the hot water as well, you'd feel hot air coming out through the bottom of this vent just here onto your hand like this, so you can double check it like that. Gas locker, you've got a basically it's an air vent that needs to be a certain size depending on the size of the locker and things like that. So that's there. Don't worry, this will all be cleaned out. But the actual bottle itself and the regulator that you've got are both very, very, very simple. You have got space in here for two 13-kilo propane bottles if you wanted it, or obviously just the two 6s. This one here is a 6. It's a new bottle, so it's full, and I can't remember, but I think, yeah, there you go. So it's a new pigtail as well, so you've got 2021 date on there. So you don't need to replace that till 26 now, because you get 5 years on those. There's not really a legal limit on how long you can have the regulators for as such. It's just as long as it's working exactly how it should, and at the minute it is. So that's all been pressurized and tested as part of the habitation check. To turn the bottle on, so I need to get in there to show you, anti-clockwise around to the left like this is turning the bottle on, and turning the bottle off is clockwise around to the right. And when you eventually run out of gas in here, which will be a long time because these do last much longer than you might think, you literally just need to undo this nut just here, pop on your new bottle, and then just give it a little nip up. They don't need to be super tight because it is only a soft metal. The actual pigtail itself is only a soft metal, so you don't have to go crazy on it. But when you tighten it up, you'll get to a point where you can't tighten it by hand anymore, and just give it a little nip up when you're there, and then you'll be good to go. You don't need to worry about any of this down here because this is all just for our testing. So a little test point here. So like I said, if you take this off, you're not going to do any harm, but you don't need to worry about that at all. That's all just for our testing side of things. So that's your gas locker. You got your drop out hole just there, so that literally just goes straight out to the floor. So you know, if anything was to leak inside the locker, it won't come up into the van. Or any holes that there might be anywhere in the entire locker have all been sealed up properly from the factory, from new. So that's all good and as it should be. Toilet cassette locker. So I just need 2 hands to open this up, but basically you need to push this and this button in at the same time. So I'll just do that now quickly. So you've got a fresh water flush in here, which is a pretty standard way of having it. Sometimes some vans have got a separate little locker above this, which is for your pink fluid, your flush fluid, but this one's just literally directly from your fresh tank, which is what that pipe there is. To take the actual cassette out, you need to lift up on the bottom here and pull towards you. When you actually empty the cassette out, you've got this cap just here at the front, yellow cap, so that's where you empty it from. And when you're actually emptying it out, the only thing to remember is that you need to hold down that little yellow button there as you do it. The only other thing to point out is that if you can't pull this out for some reason, it usually means that you need to go into the bathroom and just close the flap. Because if you leave the flap open, you won't be able to take the cassette out. It just locks it in place. So that is just something to point out. Freshwater inlet is this one just here. So I've got it unlocked at the moment, but if you wanted to actually lock it back up again, you need to push in and round to the right until it stops, and then pop your key in. So if I just grab a key out. So any of the locks around the van, I think there's only this one perhaps. The ones that have got the little red bit inside like that are circle are the circular key just here. So then you pop the key in, turn it the only way it'll go, take it out, and then you'll find that you won't be able to, you cannot take that off. So that's locked up. The rest of the keys, the rest of the locks, sorry. So if I just show you the toilet cassette locker, are this silver key just here. So that's the ones that look like this. And then you just, the same sort of idea, but at the moment it pushes in. If I turn it, take it out, it doesn't push in anymore, so it's locked up. So it's exactly the same with the gas locker. There you go. So that's how you use that. Storage at the back just here. We've left a lot of this stuff in because it's all handy bits and pieces to have. So you've got these little gripping plates just here, so just in case you got stuck on a campsite. The silver screens for the front windscreen, all of the sort of goodies that the previous owner had, we've left in there for you, just in case you have any use for them. Nice and clean at the back just here. Not really much to show, to be honest. Better view really of the storage back here. So you've got this sort of lower level, which is kind of for like wet storage, if you like, if you had something that you wanted to put in there that you knew was going to be wet. Otherwise, you can see all the way through to there. So if you wanted to put anything long in, you can do it either from this side or the other side, obviously. But it goes all the way through to that other locker just there. Anything in there as well, just so you know, anything in there, like I can see there's a hookup cable in there. I haven't tested any of that. Just, you know, it's all just stuff that the previous customer has left. So if, you know, kind of, without trying to sound harsh, if it doesn't work, then it's, you know, I haven't tested it, to be honest with you. But by all means, use it if it, you know, I'm sure it will, but there you go. So back here, we've got a couple of bits, not a huge amount. You've just got this pipe just here is the only thing to be careful of, really. I will actually, I've just seen there that the screws popped out from that The only thing to point out is just be careful with that, because that is your heating pipes. So I'll show you in the inside, but you'll have some little circular vents dotted around where the heating comes through. So just keep your eye on that when you're shoving stuff in this locker. Just keep your eye on that, because that might be, you know, you don't want to do what's happened there. Basically, it's obviously something's knocked it and it's come off. So I'll put that back on properly, but just keep your eye on that. So like I said, I mean, most things really are on that offside. So I haven't got a huge amount to show you on this side, but I will just show you this. You got your fridge vents just here. So if you had the fridge lit up on gas, you'd feel warm air coming out just through here. So I don't know if you can see in there, the little sort of creamy coloured part on the inside there is the top of your exhaust, basically, for your fridge on gas. So if the fridge was lit up on gas, you'd feel hot air coming out through there. And I'll obviously show you how to check it properly on the inside as well, but that is just like a bit of a fail-safe way of double checking that it's definitely lit. Nice strong catch up there for the door. You do need to, they're all the same, these ones. You do need to sort of push the door into it a little bit. It can seem a little bit sort of aggressive. If I just show you, you do need to sort of do that to get that to go in. So that is normal. And so that's it. I don't think there's anything else to show you in the cab. The actual diesel filling point is just here. You need your ignition key to go in there to open that up. Just show you, to actually open that, I just literally push on this left-hand side, and that opens that up nicely. There's no AdBlue or anything funny like that to do with it. It is just literally a nice, simple, reliable diesel engine. Right, without making it messy in here, best I can. I fitted his seat belts up as well, so Daniel made sure that that I sort of fitted them up in the right place. So we've got them both there. Hopefully they work for you and that they're sort of big enough and far away enough. I've made it absolutely as strong as I possibly could. So I've this clasp part, I've actually taken the lower bolt off of the actual original Fiat seat belt and used like an impact driver to put them both back in on the same bolt, if that makes sense. So basically the clasp part is on the same bolt as the original seat belt in the front, so it's pretty much as strong as it can be. And the other side, I've gone all the way through the floor using bolts about this big, washers top and bottom, so you know it's really nice and strong. And I actually did go through the floor, so the underneath of it is actually held onto metal, the actual body of the van. So you know, there's no way that's going to come out. It's really nice and strong. Same on the other side. Use the original seat belt for the clasp. If you can see down there, they both go down to the same part. Kept it as neat as I possibly could, and exactly the same on this side, straight through the floor with great big bolts and nuts. So nice and strong on those. Like I said, hopefully that they work for you and they're all good. It's a little bit awkward because there is quite a lot of stuff underneath this seat, which I will show you in a minute, but I did the best I could to get them there anyway. Right, so the first thing I'll show you on the inside is your control panel up here just above the door. So it's really nice and simple. At the moment I've got the 12 volt on, so lights and things like that will be working, and the way you need to turn that on is literally just press this button up, and when you do that you get this nice green light come on. And that just tells you that everything's working. Obviously you'll know as well because the lights will come on if you leave them switched on. I've also got a hookup cable plugged into the van, so that's why this yellow light is on as well. And you can hear it first off, but that also tells you if the charger wasn't working and you had a hookup plugged in, the light wouldn't come on. So it also proves to you that the charger's working. But anyway, if you want to check your battery levels, you press up on this one just here to check your leisure battery. 14 volts in that, so that's fantastic. Obviously that's because of the charger. If there was no hookup plugged in, you might be looking at sort of 12 to 13, which is absolutely fine. And you can see it's got a gauge there from red on the left about 10 to red at 15. 15 is way too much for an engine for a leisure battery, so that's why it goes red at the top. Push down on the same switch to show your engine battery level. The reason that's at 12.5, which by the way you probably know, but 12.5 volts in a resting battery is completely fine anyway. In fact, it's actually really good. But that's because the hookup cable only charges the leisure, so it doesn't charge your engine battery whatsoever. Obviously that's fine because when you start the engine up it would be charging anyway. When you do start the engine up, you've also got something called a split relay. So basically the alternator charges your leisure battery, and then you've got a split relay between the engine battery and the leisure battery, which sits down here. So even when you've not got a hookup cable plugged in, if your engine's running, you're charging both leisure and engine batteries at the same time anyway. So even if you don't have access to a hookup cable, if you just take the van out for a drive every now and again, you'll have plenty of power in the battery. You know, it'll be sort of constantly kept up voltage wise. So that's always something to do. Handy sort of thing to keep in mind. This little bit down here is a thermostat for your heating. So that's not a button, don't worry about that. It is literally just to tell the boiler what temperature the inside of the van's at. If you want to check your water level, press up on this one here to check your fresh water level. So about a quarter of a tank, and then down to check your waste. So it's about the same on both of those. Fresh is always the one without a little drain at the bottom of it, if you were wondering, and waste is the one with the little drain at the bottom. So that's how you can determine which one's which. Up for fresh, down for waste. If you wanted to turn your tank heater on, you can do that with that switch there. It's not really necessary, to be completely honest with you, not in England. If you were to go somewhere really cold, then you know you could do that, but otherwise there's not really much use. And then you've got your pump, so pump switch there. I will just switch that off for a minute. Reason I've switched that off is because I know that the boiler may be empty, and I think I might have opened up the boiler drain as well, so I don't want to get it wet inside here because we're in the showroom. I'll show you both of these bits now. So yeah, that's that. I'll show you the sort of the best way to sort of go into the van and start things up, but I'll just show you one of these two front seats first because they're both very important. So if I just undo the seat belt for a minute, chuck that over there. So if I just lift this seat up, I can quickly show you what's what. So on the left hand side here, this is your EBL unit, so that's your power supply unit basically. You don't need to do anything with this, you don't need to press any buttons on it, but that is where your fuse panel is. So you've got a little diagram above each one and it tells you exactly what's happening, and the volts, the amps, you know, how many amps each fuse is and what it does. So you've got light circuit 1, light circuit 2, heating, pump, all that sort of stuff. It's all really nicely labelled. So if you did get any issues with anything, obviously just let us know, but you could have a little look in there just to check if you're not near us. You've then also got your charger, which is this one just here. I would imagine this is an isolator switch for the charger, but don't hold me to that because I'm not actually sure. But anyway, you don't need to worry about that. As long as your hookup plugs in and this comes on, the battery's being charged up. You've also then got this on the right hand side, so you've got two MCBs on the left and your RCD on the right. So if you plugged a dodgy plug into one of the plug sockets, you'd basically just trip it from here. So again, let us know if you get any issues, but if you plug a hookup cable into the van and nothing's working, so no charger, no plug sockets, you could just check in here just in case. Just put that back over. And then underneath this bit of the floor, you've got your leisure battery, which I have checked for the voltage. It is really nice power inside it. I didn't have to change that out, I don't think. In fact, no, I definitely didn't. So whoever had the van before, you know, kept it up to date and kept it charged up when it needed to be. Nice neat wiring, there's nothing, you know, nothing too ugly about that. A couple of little bits and pieces obviously would have been spurred off for bits over the years, but otherwise I've seen a lot worse with the you know, random wiring going everywhere. So this is nice and tidy down here. So pop that away, pull this out, make sure it goes down flat. The only thing to point out is that where I've done your seatbelt, it has to go down there, down the side of the battery, under the, you know, down to the floor. So when you put that little cover back away, make sure that it's sort of quite neatly over to the side like that, and that'll give you the best kind of strength when you know, as for the seatbelt goes anyway. So just pop this back there. I'll do that back up in a little minute. And on the other side, you've got your boiler. So, So obviously the boiler drain is on the outside. So the boiler vent. So we know that that's where the boiler is. So if I just lift this up so you can see. Stuck. Seatbelt. Okay, so you got a nice black top boiler down here, so that's the newer style. It's probably one of the first years of the van that started getting fitted with this newer style boiler. If it was any older than this, then you'd have a still reliable, but the old grey top boiler, which is a little bit more problematic. So these ones are nice and reliable. Nothing too technical whatsoever about it. So I'll just show you. The only thing that you need to know really is this little bit down here is your boiler drain. It's an automatic dropout boiler drain. So what that means is if the boiler gets to a certain temperature, sort of like 1 or 2 degrees or something like that, then the boiler will drop its water out automatically via that little red button. So to get that to actually that's bad English, to actually get that to drain out, you just need to push this down. When you push down, it will literally just drop all of the water out of it. So as long as it's in the up position, it does tell you on the top there, I think it says open, close. As long as it's in the up position that it is now, when you go to pour the water through your tap, which I'll show you in a minute, that'll work, and basically it will keep topping its way up. Rather than if you drop it out, basically what happens is if it's in the open position, so it's down, and you pull your tap, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, you'll just get water pumping out underneath the van, and it won't fill itself up. So you just need to bear that in mind. Make sure it's in the upright position before you start trying to fill the boiler up, and also before you start trying to use the boiler as well. In that same instance, you need to make sure that that's in the upright position and that you've got water in the boiler. And that's really important, by the way, because if you try to light the boiler up without checking in that, if the boiler's empty and you light it up, it's just the same as sort of boiling an empty kettle. It will sort of overheat, and that's really the only thing in the van which is a real pain to replace, because it's just so expensive. It's not a difficult job, but it is expensive to replace those. So just make sure that you sort of look after that. Right, so like I was saying, as long as you know that your boiler drain is in the closed position, so it's upright and it's not going to let any water go out, you can then come in here, turn your pump switch on, and then just come to your sink and pull the water through, pull the hot side, so the left hand like this, pull that through, and just make sure that the water's coming through nice and easily. There's no sort of like coughing or spluttering going on. Because when there is coughing and spluttering, that means that the boiler isn't yet full. If the boiler was completely full to the top, it would come through lovely and smooth straight away. And that's what you want to see. Before you start using your boiler, you want to make sure that it's coming through nice and smoothly, with no sort of serious air in the way. But once you've done that, you're good to go. And I'll show you how to actually use it in a minute. Your step comes in and out from this electric switch just here at the bottom. And the rest of these are just sort of light switches. I've just seen there, you've got your awning light, which is this top switch just here, and interior lights from that one. Right, the fridge is probably the next important bit to show you. So it's in a lock position, it's unlocked. Okay, so 3 ways of using these fridges. You've got gas, 240 volts or 12 volt. The 12 volt is for when your engine's running only. It will not work if I choose it now. See, there's no light whatsoever. It won't do anything. So if I started the engine up, the 12 volt one would work. And what it does, it just starts to heat up a little element in the back of the fridge, and starts to cool it down like that. The next one, 240 volt, should work. There you go, green light in there. So I've got a hookup cable plugged in at the moment, and then we've got a slightly bigger element in the back of the fridge there, which will then start to cool the fridge down exactly the same way. And then you've also got gas, which if I just show you, up to the top for gas, igniter starts automatically, and it will just light up in its own time. I've only just turned the gas on, so it might take a minute. But that's how you use that. If the gas doesn't light up, you'll find that this starts flashing, and that's a way to know, that it's not quite lit up exactly how I wanted to straight away. That's not a problem whatsoever. You can do a couple of things about it. You can turn this all the way down, so you see there, flashing there now. So turn it off, try it again. So like I say, The only way that the gas purges through to these fridges is whilst it's trying to light up. It doesn't purge through otherwise. So when you turn your gas on for the first time, it can take a little while to actually light up. Completely normal. So, like I said, that's the 3 ways to use the fridge. The main sort of thing to point out about this is that if you try to cool the fridge down via the 12 volt when your engine's running and it's not already cold, you'll find that when you get to where you're going, it won't be cold inside, it'll just be exactly the same. That is because the 12 volt element isn't strong enough to get the fridge cold on its own. So you need to make sure that you get it cold first, either via the gas or the 240. Sometimes it's an idea to get it cold the night before you go away with all of your stuff inside it, so that when you wake up in the morning and go, everything and the fridge is already cold, and then just switch it over to 12 volt just for when you're driving. That is probably the best way to do it, in my opinion, just to sort of make sure that everything's definitely cold. But that's the same with all of the fridges, it's not just this one, they're all the same. A couple of isolator switches down here. This is your gas isolators. So they've got a little diagram on. The bottom one there is for your fridge, top one is for your cooker. So you just turn them 90 degrees if you want to isolate the gas for any reason. So you would use that if you were on holiday and you thought that there was something wrong with one of the appliances, then you can just isolate it there nice and easily like that. 4 burner gas hob. You've got an igniter just here, which does all 4 burners, the grill and the oven. The only thing I need to sort of show you really is that you've got something called a thermocouple. I'm not sure if you'd be familiar with them, but basically you've got a little prong of metal inside each one of these, and in fact every single gas appliance in this entire van, the fridge, the boiler, everything's got a thermocouple. And what it does is, if I lit one of these up, whether or not the gas is free yet or not, there you go. So I've lit the hob up, and because the thermocouple's working exactly how it needs to, I've let that out and it's staying on. So if I blew that flame out without touching this, without turning the gas off, or the wind blew it out or whatever, if the gas still wanted to pump through because this knob is turned and there's no flame there, the thermocouple will work that out and it will stop all the excess gas coming into the van. So it does take about sort of 10-15 seconds to actually work, but if I switch it off now, after about 10 seconds or so, you will hear a big click, and that's basically the thermocouple stopping that gas. It's just filling the gap and it will stop any more gas coming through. Basically, that's how that works. So you just heard it there, that's a thermocouple, and that's how it works on every single gas appliance ever, basically. You've got one in your boiler at home, it's all the same. So the only thing I'll point out as well, I just remember whilst I was doing it, if you have any one of these burners on, or even the grill as well, because the grill's vent is this one just here, so all the heat sort of comes out through this little middle part. Make sure that, obviously, this is obviously obvious, but do not shut the lid when the flame's on, but also don't shut the lid just after turning it off, because there's still so much heat just there. And obviously, if you imagine glass is hot cold on the top, and then it gets heated up from underneath, it will just crack. So just make sure, so you see there, caution, glass lids may shatter when heated. So just make sure that you definitely turn all of them off and wait a little while before closing it down. Again, it's not really the end of the world, even if something did happen to that, because it is just glass. So you can just undo these and replace it, but it is obviously just a pain if that happens for you, really. So just keep an eye on that, just in case. You got a couple of lights just up underneath here which work on this button, and an extractor. The extractor goes out through here. This is why you got this wood just here, so it's not so ugly, and you can't see the big extractor pipe. This little part in here is where you'd have a TV. You can put a TV anywhere if you want to. It's completely up to you, but you've already got this little rolling frame here for it, and you've got 12 volt power, 240 volt power, and an aerial point in there. So it'll be a no-brainer, really. If you wanted a telly, you pop it in there. Just have a look in here in your wardrobe. There you go, thought so. So on the talking of the aerial point, you've got this, which is your TV aerial booster and your actual TV aerial itself. So this is what's called a tilt and turn aerial. So if you get to a campsite, you basically need to undo that like I just did there, push this up, and you can probably see up there, I'm literally going to turn this entire thing with my hand, and you'll see it's a bit dirty underneath, but there's not really much we could do about that. But the actual entire thing turns when you move it. And also when you move this little bottom part, I'll show you. You probably can't see it actually from down there, but basically it just changes the angle of the entire thing. So if I bring that down now, just bring it down like that, make sure you're all the way down, tighten that up. If you want a bit of a cheat way of doing it, like locking onto the right place, if you get to a campsite and you've got other motorhomes around you, just have a little look where they're pointing and try and copy them best you can. And then once you've done that, just switch this TV aerial on, aerial booster on, so you've got that little red light on the front of it like it is now. Turning it off is on the bottom right hand side like that. So we'll do that just in case you don't want to use it. But once you switch that on, this aerial point will already be hooked up to that point over there. So that's all you need to do. This will then work with your TV. So that's the TV aerial. It's nice and simple. It's nothing, you know, it's nothing technical really. But that's that. This will turn off when you shut the door. Bathroom, I'll just point out a few things in the bathroom for you. You should have a switch somewhere for the lights. There you go, up under there. Okay, so a couple of bits to show you. You know, simple stuff really. This is obviously just your sink, and it's the same as in the kitchen area, exactly the same style. Your shower, exactly the same kind of thing again. You've also got a light in here which works on 1 or 2 bulbs. You probably can't tell on the camera actually, but it does work on both 1 or 2. And the only thing I was going to show you about the toilet is, like I was saying on the outside, if you find that you can't take the cassette out from outside, it's because you've got this flap in the open position like that rather than closed like that. And there's a couple of reasons you want to have it closed. I mean, the main reason really being that if you leave it open, you'll just get all the smells coming into the van. But also, like I said, if you have it open, you can't take the cassette out from outside. To flush the toilet, you've got this blue button just up here, and that'll just pump the fresh water around into the toilet. Make sure that you switch this switch off, because if you're not going to use the bathroom very much, obviously you might sometimes forget that you've got the lights on in here, and then start draining your battery out if you don't realise that they're on. Fly screen comes down from the top like that, and then your blackout comes up like that. So a lot of the time I can imagine you probably have this blackout like this, you know, bearing in mind it's your bathroom, so you want a bit of privacy, so have it up like that. You can then release from the top, and then so you basically just squeeze these 2 sides. The other thing I'll point out, the blinds around the van are very, very similar all the way around. I think they are all the same. So the blinds side of things is exactly the same. That's the same all around. But the thing I want to point out to you is about the window. If whichever window we're talking about, doesn't matter which one, if they've got these same kind of stays where they work on this little latch like that, you really need to be careful with it, because if you open this up right up against, so if we was parked right up against this wall just here, and I did this and opened it up and it was really close to the wall, I then can't push it open that little bit extra to allow it to come back in. So basically what I mean is, where it's latched at the moment like this, I can't just pull it in because it's locked. You need to actually push it open a little bit more to allow it to come in. So if that makes sense, don't open it up on a latch too close to something, just in case you can't push it open that little bit extra to allow it to come back. It's not the end of the world. Don't worry if that does happen. You just need to take these 2 screws out, and then the actual stay will come out with it. But it's, you know, another one of those things. It's not the end of the world if it does happen, but just bear it in mind, just in case it does. Right, what else have we got? I've shown you the cab, I've shown you bonnet release, all your battery bits and pieces are down here behind the passenger seat. Boiler is behind the driver's seat. I've shown you your fridge, sink, cooker. Now I just need to see where the boiler controller is. Where is it? I'm being blind. Oh, this is really silly. There you go. I did the hab check not long ago. I forgot where it was. Okay, so just here, just show you where we are. We're just literally, you know, behind the driver's seat, basically. You can. The heating is gas only. There's no way of heating the van up via the electric. But if your boiler's full of water and you want to heat the water up via the electric, you can switch this button on here, and then basically it'll just start to warm up. I would have written on the habitation sheet itself how many amps that pulls, and in fact I think I remember writing on there that the light doesn't work inside the LED. So normally, like I'm hooked up right now, and now that it's on, it is working, because I've actually drawn the amps via our little clamp to prove how many amps it pulls and prove that things work, like the fridge and everything that's works on 240. But the actual LED inside this switch doesn't light up green. So hopefully you can sort of ignore that and just pretend that it is on, but it is actually working. As soon as you put this switch down like it is now, it's on. So I'll switch that off. If you want to use the boiler on your gas, then that's the left hand side just here. That's this whole thing here. So where it says Trumatic C. So Trumatic C is your sort of just telling the boiler what to do, and that's on gas. And you've got Trumatic C EL, which, like I said to you, is just hot water only. So the little dial in the middle, you can leave that where it is. You don't need to worry about that too much whatsoever. You can leave it on sort of 6, 7. That's absolutely fine. It's basically just the fan speed and sort of how efficiently you want things to work. If you're in a real hurry, then obviously by all means just turn it all the way up, but otherwise you don't really need to. If you want to heat the water up via the gas only, you want to go up 1 or up 2, and that's 40 degrees or 60 degrees of hot water. So that will literally do its thing. After about 10 seconds or so, it will light up, and then you'll be good to go. You'll hear a little tiny sort of like combustion fan fire up, and then after sort of like 20-30 minutes or so, you have nice hot water coming at your taps. That is obviously bearing in mind that you've already gone to the tap and made sure that there's water in the boiler, and that your boiler drain is in the upright position rather than down. If you wanted heating only, you go down to this one just here. So if I just show you, back to the off position, it turns itself off. Down 1, and you get the same sort of thing again, but this time it will light up in the same way, but then you'll get air pumping around through all these little circular vents around the bottom of the van. So there's a couple dotted around the van. There should be one in the bathroom as well, but it's as simple as that. It will literally light up and then start pumping around hot air. So you just hear just there dropping out to allow the gas through, and it will light up. So that is how simple that is. That's your heating. If you want hot water and heating at the same time, you go down all the way to the bottom where you've got a little flame and a 60-degree symbol. So that's telling you that you've got heating and 60 degrees of hot water. So it's as simple as that. Just turning the outside determines what the boiler does. Sometimes if it's easier, the older vans, if you went up, it said